Hello crochet friends, welcome to Crazy Cool Crochet. In this project we are going to work on a really cool crochet pillow cover. Now did you see the comparison I made with the store-bought $67 pillow? That just blows my mind. $67! And the pillow insert is just plain old polyester. Knowing that we can make our own version handmade by you, using your skills and having fun and creating something for your home. What could be better than that? And you're spending a fraction of the cost of a store-bought pillow. And this particular pattern is super simple, so this is perfect for a crochet beginner. This is going to use just a single crochet and a slip stitch. And you've got yourself a beautifully textured pillow. What I used here was a medium weight, worsted weight, number 4, Red Heart Soft. The color is Toast. And I chose this just so that it's kind of similar to the example, the store-bought pillow. We'll need scissors, a yarn needle, and the crochet hook is a G or a 4.25 millimeter. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now for a pillow 18 by 18, and that's a typical size for a decorative pillow, 18 by 18 inches, I did a chain of 70. You can make this whatever size you need. Just make sure that you start with a chain in an even number. And we're going to be working with the crunch stitch. Actually, it's a variation on the crunch stitch because you would normally use a half double crochet, but for this I'm going to use a single crochet. So I want the stitches to be smaller than you would get with a half double. We're going to start with a slip stitch in the second chain from the hook. Do not count the chain on the hook. So that first one below the hook counts as the first chain, and then the next one is the second. So we're going to go into the second chain for a slip stitch. Grab the yarn, pull it right through that loop on the hook. That's a slip stitch. In the next chain, we're doing a single crochet. So grab the yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, pull the yarn through both loops. It's a single crochet. If you need help with all the beginning stitches, I'll leave a little white box right up above. You can click that and it will take you to the beginner tutorials. Okay, so now the next one, slip stitch again. Grab the yarn, bring it right through the loop on the hook. And then in the next chain, a single crochet. Bring the yarn through 2 loops on the hook, bring the yarn through both loops. And that's all you're doing, is just alternating slip stitch and then single crochet all along the row. Okay, now at the end of the row, you will end with a slip stitch in the last chain and then turn. Okay, now you're going to need to move this strand out of the way so you can work into that very first stitch. Now, can you see the 2 strands that make up that first chain? If you turn this towards you, you can see that all the stitches you were making create a little chain at the top. So the 2 strands make up a chain. So that very first one, you're going to do a single crochet. So you've got the 2 loops on the hook, pull through both loops. In the next space, or the next stitch, there's the 2 strands. Enter your hook under those 2 strands. And now you're going to do a slip stitch. Okay, so what we're doing is alternating. So we ended the row with a slip stitch, then we turned and we started with a single crochet. So the single crochet goes on top of the slip stitch from the row before. And then on the next stitch, a slip stitch will go over the single crochet from the row before. So now this next stitch is going to be the slip stitch from the row before. So you're going to do a single crochet, single crochet, slip stitch, single crochet, slip stitch, and that's it. You're just alternating again all across the row. Okay, before we get to the end of the row, I want to give you a little tip that might help as you're going along. If you get interrupted, it's hard to tell where you ended up or where you are currently. Here is the stitch from the row below. So that was a slip stitch right there. And this bump means that was a single crochet. Okay, so that's flat and that's bumpy. Okay, so on the flat one, because that was a slip stitch, that's where you're going to enter the single crochet. And then on the bump, because that was the single crochet, that's where you're going to enter the slip stitch. Just make sure that you're finding your chain at the top of it, the 2-strand chain. And you're making the slip stitch. And in the last one, we're entering a single crochet because we started the row with a single crochet. So you start and end with the same stitch. There's your 2 strands, single crochet, turn. Now for row 3, you're going to start with a slip stitch. And that was because we ended with a single crochet, so now you're going to start with a slip stitch. And then in the next stitch, single crochet, the next one, slip stitch. And that's the pattern for the entire pillow cover. Okay, that's it. Just keep working row after row after row for the length that you need. Okay, my panel is done, and I just wanted to show you how to finish this off. So at the end of your last row, which in my case it was a single crochet where I ended. In any case, if you end with a slip stitch, single crochet, doesn't really matter. Do a chain. I usually do 2 for good measure. Then leave a tail, maybe 5 inches long, and cut the yarn. And then bring this through and squeeze down those chains, and that gives you a nice tight knot. And that's how you finish that off. Now as for the size, I'm not giving you a row count because you want this to be as long as you need it to be for your pillow. Now it doesn't necessarily mean that the panel is 18 by 18 because your pillow is 18 by 18. The reason I say that is this has a good amount of stretch to it. Okay, so when I put this over my pillow, I realized I was done when this was 17 inches in length. Okay, so it is 18 inches in width, but I left it at 17 inches in length, maybe a little more than 17, because it stretched quite a bit. Okay, so you can adjust it as needed. And for this particular design, that's really easy because you can just, you just make whatever length you need to fit your pillow. Okay, now let's move on to the back panel. Okay, so for the back panel, I'm choosing to go with just straight single crochets for the back panel. It'll work up so much faster. However, if you want to do both sides with the textured design, feel free to do both sides the same. And I'm going to do the back panel of all single crochets. So I did the chain the same length as the front panel, and I'm going to start with a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. That was the first chain, there's the second chain. Again, you do not count the chain on the hook. So there's one right beneath It shrinks up sometimes, and then there's the one next to it. Second chain from the hook, single crochet, and then single crochet in each chain across. Okay, after you enter your last single crochet in the last chain, chain one. Now for this back panel, because we're doing all single crochets, we are going to chain one at the end of each row. We did not do that with the front panel, it wasn't necessary. So now for that back panel, all single crochets, chain one at the end of the row, turn, and then start your single crochets in the first space. And you are still working under the two strands that form the chain at the top. So enter a single crochet in each space, all the way across the row. Now we're at the end of row 2, and I'm going to show you where we enter that very last stitch, the last single crochet. You don't want to miss it. Okay, you're going to go into here. This looks like a nub. Go ahead and find that 2-strand chain, that last chain. So you enter your last stitch. For your single crochet, chain one, turn, and then just repeat. Start in that first space, single crochet across the row. At the end of the row, chain one, turn, and keep going until your back panel matches the length of your front panel. And then we'll put them together. Before I move on, I usually leave this to the end of the video, but it's looking like people don't get to the end of the video most of the time. So please, I'm going to ask you to give me a thumbs up down in the white space. Subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And also, make sure you leave me a little comment of, what you think of this. Even if it's not entirely positive, I'll take that too. I need to know what you guys want, what you like, what you don't like, so that I know what direction to take this in. As I try not to remind you every video because it gets annoying, but Crazy Cool Crochet is actually my only source of income. So helpful. If I get a thumbs up, if you don't like the design or something, go ahead and let me know in the comments. YouTube is looking for engagement. Okay, now the back panel is done, and it's time to put both panels together. So you want the right side facing up. And again, there's the tail from the foundation chain, so this is the right side. And then you take your second panel, and this time you want the wrong side facing up. So this way we've got the right side of the back panel, the right side of the front panel touching each other. Wrong sides are out. So we're going to seam all 4 sides. And by the way, if you prefer to have a pillow that is removable, or the cover is removable so that you can wash the pillow separately, I have another video that shows how you can add a zipper to one of the openings so that you can remove the pillow if you want. So I'm going to leave a little white box up above with that link, and I'll leave another link in the description area below. Okay, so now we're going to need the yarn needle and the length of yarn. I'm going to leave the ends open so that you are really only working with one strand as we are seaming up the edges. So I'm going to do this seaming 3 edges, and then I will leave one edge open so that we can insert the pillow. Well, of course, we'll flip this inside out again before we insert the pillow. Right, we will be using what is called a whip stitch, and it doesn't really make any difference which side you start on. If we're going to close it all up Doesn't matter. If you're going to add a zipper, then you decide where you're going to want the zipper, which side. But for now, we just start in one of the corners of each panel. Insert the needle under 2 strands of each panel. I like to tie the strand to secure it. You can double knot it or triple knot it. Okay, so you're just going to bring the needle around under the 2 strands of each panel. And just try to work your way down fairly evenly. And that's it. So just keep working your way around the 3 sides of the pillow, and then we'll finish it up. Okay, after you have finished seaming around the 3 sides, turn the pillow cover inside out. So now the right side is facing up. Insert your pillow, and then just continue seaming around that last edge. And it's okay that it is now right side up. The seam will blend seamlessly, if that makes any sense. And then tie it off when you get to the end. Okay, now it is seamed on all 4 sides, and now we can attach the tassels. Well, let's make the tassels first. But isn't this gorgeous? Look at that. Okay, now before we start making the tassels, I want to show you what a difference it makes where you pull the yarn from the skein. Okay, using the yarn from the outside of the skein rather than pulling it from the middle, from the inside, will let you work with the yarn that is straight. Pulling it from the inside, the yarn has been all scrunched up in there, and look what you get. This is the yarn being pulled from the inside, this is the yarn pulled from the outside. But this is so much nicer. Okay, so let's work from the yarn coming from the outside of the skein. And you're going to need, well, I used a small packet of gum, but you can use whatever object will give you the length of yarn that is about 7 or 8 inches long, measuring like this. Okay, so that length would be about 7 or 8 inches. And then all you're going to do is just wind this around and around and around until you get it to a good thickness. Okay, now it's almost impossible for me to tell you how many times to wind it, but you're going for thickness about like that. Okay, but don't be stingy. Okay, so it's better to make it thicker than thinner, because you can always remove some of the strands if it's too thick. Okay, so now cut this off. Now take a separate length of yarn, about maybe 10 inches long. Grab a hook, put the hook under all the strands on one side, just so you can grab the yarn. Pull the yarn through. Even it out. And then just slide the yarn up to the top and then tighten it. Knot it nice and tight. I like to double knot it. Now on the bottom you can go ahead and cut all the strands. Take another length of yarn. You'll want this one a little bit longer, maybe 15 inches or so. Lay it down on your table. Now lay the tassel on top of it. And you want this to be about 3/4 of an inch from the top. I'm going to go ahead and tie it. You can knot it. Now, what will make this a little more special is giving it a little band. So rather than just leaving it like that, you're going to take your strands and wind them around, not tight. Until you get a band the width that you like, and then tie the 2 strands to secure everything. Not too tight. Okay, now all you need to do here is trim the bottom with your scissors. And you don't want these to be too long, so from top to bottom this one is 3.5 inches. So that's it. Make 4 of these and then we will attach. Okay, now let's attach the tassel to the pillow. Just take 1 strand, insert the hook in the corner, grab 1 strand, pull it through, tie it. Now cut these down so you have maybe 2 or 3 inches left. And then you can hide these. Just bring them through. And just keep bringing it through until it's inside. You just want these hidden inside the pillow. And there you have the pillow, every bit as gorgeous as the store-bought version, for a fraction of the price, and of course handmade by you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget the thumbs up. Thanks.